Netflix thinks that movie theaters are an outmoded idea for most people. They believe that everyone would prefer to watch things at home, and there is a lot of truth to that. But the interesting part is that they're gutsy enough to say that they're saving Hollywood. And you know, sometimes that's true. At least twice a year, I watch something from Netflix that's really spectacular and interesting. But one could argue that it's really Max, Amazon Prime, sometimes Hulu and Peacock that are really bringing in the big and interesting shows in the past 5 years. Feel free to disagree if you want. But the sincerely funny part of this statement to me is the fact that they're supposedly opening a gigantic in-person experience venue that everyone just completely forgot about, aka a glorified shopping mall. It's slated to open sometime this year. Maybe it already opened, I don't know. Supposedly there's gonna be 2 of them, actually. Now, why is this funny? Well, it's the fact that this in-person experience allegedly will let you watch your favorite Netflix movies in, wait, I think you can guess it. You know what I'm gonna say. In a movie theater / shopping mall built by Netflix. If they actually make this, I'll vlog it because I think this is really funny, and it makes me wonder if they genuinely forgot that they were building this. Netflix has been going in a really strange direction lately, and that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. I first want to talk about the content. Netflix has a kind of strange way of operating. Basically, whenever a show comes out, your show has exactly 2 weeks to prove itself. Netflix doesn't think you're successful in those 2 weeks. And that kind of makes sense. Looking at viewership as a metric is pretty standard on TV. The strange part is that Netflix's data is kind of a mystery. Their viewership and general analytics, they don't share it with anyone. So the metrics that they're actually using to determine if a show is successful is kind of an unknown. And Netflix has just been acting really strange in general. Recently, they've had a bit of a trend of canceling good shows or not canceling them, and they progressively degrade in quality. Or even worse, is they will take an entire millennia to put out a single season of one of their shows, and at least to some kind of hilarious results, especially when it has younger people in it. If you're gonna take 5 years to put out 1 season of a TV show, I feel like maybe you shouldn't hire 12-year-olds. I mean, look at this. This is supposed to be the same night. Now young Sheldon aged 10 years in a single night. I mean, I don't even know what the fuck we're doing at this point. I understand that when making a TV show, there are certain things out of your control, scheduling conflicts, sometimes a global pandemic, you know, these things happen. Netflix is also really unpredictable sometimes. You never know if your show might get split into 2 or 3 parts, or be stuck in a perpetual limbo of waiting to get greenlit. Do we got another season? I don't know. Who knows? Maybe we'll never know. I sometimes get suspicious when a really popular show gets dragged out for years. Squid Game. It makes me wonder sometimes if it's kind of a calculated decision. But again, I don't know, because not to mention so many of their shows only have like 10 or maybe 12 episodes per season nowadays if you're lucky. It kind of makes me miss the filler beach episodes and bottle episodes I used to think were annoying. You know, Stranger Things is almost 10 years old with a current total of only 34 episodes. I often keep forgetting what happened last season because it was a whole different time of my life when it came out. X-Files, to compare, ran for the same amount of time and had over 202 episodes. It's pretty clear something has changed in the entertainment industry. Maybe it's the competitive nature of streaming, maybe it's 2020, I don't know, but I just kind of feel like one of Ted Mosby's kids waiting for him to finally tell me the goddamn story of how he met my mother, and instead he spends 10 years telling me about how my uncle banged over 250 women. I am still waiting to find out how the things got strange. And sure, there's an argument to be made that the quality of TV shows is different nowadays. Stranger Things is a high quality show and it's nice they're taking their time, but I think with kid actors playing the leads, and considering the short attention span of your average American, you can't really Benjamin Button your way out of this. This isn't Tom Hanks in Big, this is Tom Hanks playing a 12-year-old boy. I'm just saying it's getting kind of silly at this point. Netflix's original content in general is really hit or miss. It's either kind of overly dramatic and underwhelming, and a little performative, or it's some of the best stuff I've ever seen. I can't entirely blame Netflix for this because they kind of were handed a bag of nothing. Netflix is trying to deal with the cards they were dealt, which is nothing. Netflix pretty much lost everything back in 2020. All the CBS stuff went to Paramount, NBC to Peacock, Fox to Disney Plus, and Hulu's weird super baby. So Netflix has clearly been desperate to make a lot of original content to compensate, and the result is either fantastic or usually meh. I can't entirely blame them for that, but I also think they really need to double down on their good stuff and stop making so many things. That's just my opinion. I just think they could save a little money by doing some market research, finding out which shows are great, and focusing on those instead of canceling them and making 7 more shows. My point is, a lot of what Netflix does is kind of a mystery, and I'm not sure they're really saving Hollywood. They seem to be struggling to save themselves from becoming the condescending, more expensive option, and I say this with love. Kinda. Netflix clearly has a bit of an image problem. And yeah, maybe it's not as bad as HBO Max, HBO Max, who keeps changing their name every 2 seconds. Netflix has clearly been struggling to find its place, making very strange shows like thick, sexy beast. And I also think a very clear sign of an identity crisis is when you say you'll never sell out, but then you finally do. Netflix finally introducing advertisements after years of implying that they never would. And it kind of feels like Netflix has crossed the line that there's really no coming back from. I just feel like this kind of thing leads to an inevitable dip in quality, which is kind of what I want to talk about next. Background noise shows with background-friendly screenwriting, which basically means they're going to ask their showrunners for every show in the future to make their dialogue simpler and easier to digest. They're going to have characters constantly repeating the situation they're in, and they're even going to have an audio-only mode so you can watch their shows like a podcast, completely eliminating the need for any sort of visual medium, actively sacrificing their own content so that it's so easy to watch at home that there's not even a hint of any subtlety or subtext. Now don't get me wrong, this kind of thing sounds really awesome for the vision impaired. I think that's awesome. The problem is that you are genuinely going to be dumbing down your content in a way that's maybe going to feel a little insulting to people who don't want every little thing to be explained like we're 5 years old. When you're a showrunner, I have to imagine this kind of request is a bit frustrating, much like the general process of making a TV show for streaming. Actors aren't getting their royalties for being on the platform, Netflix asking them to make their content dumber, and a strange third thing: DVDs. When I was a kid, my family and I used to watch the old 70s show Land of the Lost. Every week, we'd wait for old DVDs to come in the mail, return the old ones, and get new ones. It was something I always really looked forward to, and when the service ended, it was kind of sad. But that's okay. It's no surprise Netflix no longer does DVD mailing nowadays, because the way we watch stuff has changed. When DVDs become less and less of an option, we rely on our digital content as a way to watch things instead. It's become the new norm, and that's just how it is. But it was kind of a shock to find out how Netflix feels about DVDs, period. They really don't like them anymore. Netflix was apparently actively hostile to the idea of creating physical Blu-rays and DVDs for their shows. Now notice the choice of words. They don't say disregarding or unenthusiastic. They're actively hostile. Whenever their showrunners suggest it, they seriously get kinda pissed.
I'm gonna kill myself! Wow. I'm going to kill myself and it's your fault!
The guarantee that your digital media purchase will never leave your library is apparently a guarantee that never exists in most terms of services. A crazy example of this is Sony deleting all of the Discovery content in people's PlayStation libraries that they already purchased because of some weird licensing agreement expiring. No refunds either. We're just removing it. Should've bought a DVD, but you bought it yesterday. You bought $50 of Discovery stuff. That's too bad. The last time I remember Netflix being this upset was back in 2006 when they tried to sue Blockbuster for doing a
DVD mail rental service.
If you didn't know about that, it's exactly as petty and stupid as it sounds. Basically like Pizza Hut suing Domino's. So it feels like we don't have ownership over our own digital content anymore. We also don't have ownership over our own personal Netflix accounts. Because here's another thing Netflix said they'd never do: ban password sharing. Advertisements is something that I think we all kind of expected them to do eventually. But account sharing was something that Netflix always wore like a proud badge on their chest. They even made jokes about it. Love is sharing a password. Okay. Stockholders have been begging Netflix to do both of these things for over a decade. It worked really well. It was a huge financial gain for them. Scrooge McDuck is very happy. That's that. I just find it a little frustrating because it kind of feels like all of North America and the world just got caught by the principle. It feels like it's in the same vein of not being allowed to share your iPod with anyone outside of your own house anymore, except instead of an iPod, it's a service inside of your iPod that might delete any of that digital content in that iPod at any time. It just feels like there was a community element to sharing your account with other people. If you wanted to recommend a show and hand them your account, you can't really do that anymore. It's kind of lame. It also has millions of people thinking they got kicked off of the main Netflix account. Families living in different houses or going on vacation or serving in the military, having to wait or buy their own accounts or sail the high seas with the pirates. Family members all wiped out at once like a very chaotic week for the people who own the Netflix accounts that everybody uses.
Press 1 for more options.
Why'd you kick me off of the Netflix?
You changed the password to the Netflix account? My girlfriend and I were gonna watch Castlevania.
I just got kicked off of Netflix. I just want to know why? Why? What did I do to you? What did I do to deserve this? I thought we were friends, but I guess not, because you clearly...
Why'd you take me off the Netflix?
Because you know what? I feel bad for my cousin's friend's brother's ex-wife who can't use my account anymore, or the Russian hacker that's been using my account for the past 7 years. Sharing a Netflix account with someone is a personal thing. It's the epicenter of memes, conversations, and movie nights all over the world. And it just makes me sad that we can't do that anymore. It makes me sad about the direction of media in general. And you know the worst part of the ad situation, something I forgot to mention, is that Netflix says they're going to start releasing AI-generated ads while you're watching your shows shows by 2026. What the fuck are we doing, man? Come on. It just feels like so many changes are happening at once. And it feels like it all started when they got rid of the 5-star rating system, actual human feedback. I feel like that was the catalyst that snowballed into what I fear will become a cold, calculated world of entertainment. I hope not. I want to be optimistic. Like, I could mention the millions of people whose data were collected without their consent in South Korea, or the digital profile Netflix has been building on everyone since 2010, but that stuff isn't really my point. Maybe it should be, but I'm just saying, we see you fooling around with AI. Please stop. I want to be able to say that Netflix is a good company doing cool, good things. I hope I can say that in the future, but I don't know. That's it. Good vibes.